The South African Revenue Service has appointed 3 new deputy commissioners in a bid to strengthen its leadership team. These new appointments are part of the implementation as well of recommendations of the panel chaired by retired Judge Robert Nugent. Johnstone Makhubu has been named Deputy Commissioner for Taxpayer Engagement and Operations, Carl Scholtz for Enterprise Strategy, Enablement and Modernisation, quote unquote, and Bridgitte Backman for Corporate and Enterprise Services. So what do all of these titles mean? Joining us to unpack this is SARS Commissioner Edward Kieswetter. Commissioner, great to see you. Thanks very much indeed for coming on. Long titles, big words. Does it mean this is boosting what was a gap previously in the operations of SARS?
Good morning, Michelle. Yeah, as a CEO, one has 3 tasks. Firstly is to give strategic direction. Secondly, it is to ensure a strong leadership bench. And thirdly, to allocate resources. So the appointment that we announced on Friday essentially is another step, and as you said, in line with Nugent Commission recommendations, to strengthen the leadership of SARS. And specifically in 3 areas. The first that you refer to, which is Mr. Johnstone Makhubu, is the day-to-day running of SARS. It's serving taxpayers and traders. It's the engagement through our branches, our offices, our network. The second one, which is Mr. Scholtz, it's about the longer-term enabling platform on which SARS does its work. It's about modernizing our platform using the best of technology, data, and artificial intelligence. And the third one is really about ensuring that the corporate, the governance, the regulatory, and other services the organization needs is well provided for. And when someone like myself looks at expanding and strengthening leadership, it's about complementing one's own skills. And I believe these 3 individuals does exactly that.
So 2018 was the Nugent Commission commissioner. And I mean, you know, for the people who are looking at this and saying it's part of the Nugent recommendations, but it's taken you quite long to act on it, what would you say?
Well, Nugent made a number of recommendations. In the case of SARS, about 27. We have worked consistently over the last 4 years to implement those. Some were more urgent than others, but also making leadership appointments is very, very important in any organization. And one also wants to give a balance between growing one's own timber and so giving time for people inside to demonstrate what additional roles they could take. And secondly, you also want to enrich the so-called gene pool and bring in skills and talents that one doesn't have. And so I believe that it was necessary to take the time. We started the process in October last year, and recruitment at this level does take time. I'm very comfortable that it's a positive step that takes us forward in terms of building a SARS that has integrity and that has taken into account the previously, as reported by Nugent, breaches in governance, integrity, and in important capability.
Now, I understand Johnstone Makhubu is not new to SARS, currently the chief revenue officers. The other 2 deputy commissioners, are they also sort of at-home appointments?
So, as you say, Johnstone has been in the organization for 7 years. He's played a number of important roles in procurement, in finance, and more recently, since I arrived, I saw in him potential and brought him into the core business operations. And so he served in this role for just over 3.5 years and is well prepared to take the role for running the broader operations of SARS. Mr. Scholtz brings broad industry experience in technology systems, in modernization, and has managed multi-million projects in the private sector. And we know that in terms of our capability, this is a useful addition to what we already have, which is a solid capability in building technology and data systems. Ms. Backman equally comes from outside, has worked with multinational organizations, and brings a rich level of experience in corporate affairs, in public policy, in local supply chain and people management, and has also led shared services. And so her international experience, but also South African groundedness, really brings a solid leadership role into play in an area where, across government, areas of procurement, areas of finances are often the areas that becomes the soft target for those who want to either use through corrupt means or other means of wastage access into organizations such as SARS. So all of these three really buttresses our leadership at an important level.
You're on track, you reckon, Commissioner, not only with these three new appointments, but with the other changes that you've put into place in SARS over the past few years to get that global reputation back in place?
I think we would not declare victory, but the signs are encouraging. We have seen a consistent upward performance in revenue of 7% compound growth in an economy, quite frankly, including the COVID dip that has been sluggish and slowed down to just over 1%. Notwithstanding that, SARS has seen a steady growth in revenue every year. Secondly, we've seen an important upward trend in the trust that taxpayers have towards SARS. To give you a data point, in 2018, trust in SARS by independent survey measured at 48%. We measured it in the first calendar quarter, and it was at 66%, a significant increase in trust. And attitude towards compliance also increased from 66% to 76%. I think what is the most pleasing for us is that our employees is more engaged. While the world trended downwards in every one of these aspects, SARS has gone from an employee engagement level of just over 61% to 69.4%. So we are encouraged that the work we are doing and building an organization, Michelle, is not about putting on more elastoband and plasters and sticky tape. It's about healing the organization from within. It's about addressing issues of culture, of ethos. It's about the systematic rebuilding of the organization from the inside out. And I think that's what gives us the confidence that the changes we are making is indeed bringing about sustainable improvement and delivers a SARS which is significantly more robust than the one we found 4.5 years ago.
And in the background of that, Commissioner, the work to bring justice insofar as the state capture years under SARS continues. It was just at the end of last month that the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission fined Gartner, that consultancy firm, 50 million rand for violating bribery laws in South Africa, the first action taken against this global consultancy for the work that it did at SARS, now almost a decade ago.
Indeed, and we are pleased with the actions taken by the U.S. SARS certainly have engaged and from a civil reparation perspective have addressed organizations such as Bain and Gartner and have continued that engagement to ensure that from a commercial perspective, SARS is made good. In terms of the further investigations for criminal and potentially prosecution, we've handed over these files to the Hawks and to the NPA, and of course this is then managed in the broader context of the criminal justice system. And SARS will continue to work with investigative and prosecution authorities to ensure that these organizations are indeed brought to book as they should be.
SARS Commissioner Edward Kieswetter, let me thank you for your time this morning. It was a pleasure talking to you. The Commissioner talking to us there about the appointment of 3 new Deputy Commissioners, according to SARS, to strengthen its leadership team.